What's up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to Philly with John Marks on PHLY on a July 4th Eve. Yes, getaway day. For me, I'm on vacation next week, but it's always nice when you can position the holidays. If you're fortunate enough to have off and be paid for having off, but it's nice to be able to position the holidays like, hey, July 4th, if it's on a Thursday, it's kind of perfect because a lot of times the businesses will give you off on that following day, or no one goes into work, or people are working from home, the old working from home thing. But hey, I'll take a July 4th on a Friday. Hopefully the weather is going to be great. Hopefully you have some parties or some barbecues or something like that scheduled. We have a lot of Phillies to talk about today. Listen, Tyler Zuhle is like, I've never seen somebody who can pick a random pitcher and know whether he's going to get more than 4.5 strikeouts or whatever. We hit our parlay of the day last night, and Tyler's been unbelievable. He's been hitting his side of the parlay for weeks, almost like to a 90% win rate. But yesterday, I felt like it was going to be a bad Mick Abel start, and the Padres would win game one, and the Phillies would come back in game two and win with Chris Sanchez. And I was absolutely spot on. Mick Abel, the command was terrible. He was all over the place. I didn't think it was going to be that bad. But yeah, they lost the opener, and then you know what happens in the second game of a doubleheader. Phillies had to earn it. They had to kind of fight back for it. But they got the win with Chris Sanchez. They get the series win. How many more games? 10 more games now, 9 more games before the All-Star break. They have 3 series. So really, like, trending in the right direction. And they're trending in the right direction because their starting rotation remains healthy. More on the starting rotation in a second with Abel. But they're healthy. And, man, they're good. And Chris Sanchez, again, last night. And all this dude does is he goes out. He'll get a little bit of trouble here and there. He'll have some outings where he doesn't have his best stuff. But, man, he just goes out there and he mows people down. And he did it again last night. He's probably not going to make the All-Star team this year. He was an All-Star last year. But he's putting up the numbers. You know, like he really, really is. Zach Wheeler's probably going to be your All-Star starter. But Chris Sanchez absolutely has elevated himself to where I don't think you can look at him as being, all right, we saw what he did last year, but can he do it again? And can he do it again? Well, he can do it again, and he can do it again. He's now 7-2 on the season. His ERA is 2.68. And every time he goes out, now you have the confidence of, oh, yeah, all right, Chris Sanchez is going today. Everybody, like, pinch yourself. Because realize this isn't normal to have the best rotation in baseball, where outside of now Abel, who's struggling, when you look at you look at a series, right? I'll be like, all right, well, who do we got for this series? Big series coming up. You want to play in the Padres, play in the Mets, or whoever, and it's like, oh, you have Wheeler, you have Suarez, you have Sanchez. Jesus Luzardo now is kind of an afterthought. So this rotation is unbelievable. We've been saying it. And it's becoming annoying now to say that this team is going to win 9. They're going to win 90-plus games because of the starting rotation. And you saw it again last night. And they're doing enough offensively when Sanchez kind of doesn't just keep you in the game, but you're like, all right, you can give up an early run and you're not worried about it because you know that he's going to be on. 2 in the 4th, 2 in the 5th. Kepler had a home run, which was big. Brandon Marsh continues to get big hits in big spots. He had a solo home run in the 5th inning off of Dylan Cease. So all in all, really, really good team victory. They got some late insurance runs, which they needed. Alec Boehm with an opposite field triple, which once they got that and put them up 5-1, it's like, all right, I feel good about this. I'm going to go upstairs and make sure my kids go brush your teeth. Told you to brush your teeth. And they're coming back downstairs to watch the end of the game. So, yep, Phils win. They win the series. Chris Sanchez is unbelievable. Tyler and I, we went in as a show into the season this year, kind of like salivating and raving over Chris Sanchez. And I love left-handed starters that have crazy swing and miss changeups. Cole Hamels, bread and butter. He was really a 2-pitch pitcher. He added a 3rd pitch just for show. But for the most part, he'd throw 95 on the fastball, and he had a great changeup. Randy Wolf, before Cole Hamels. Randy Wolf, now he became a little bit predictable with his changeup, but he was a good pitcher. And Randy Wolf had an excellent changeup. I don't want to say Chris Sanchez's changeup is better than Cole Hamels, but let's have a conversation. He's able to keep guys on their heels, off balance, and he has the velocity, and he locates where you can never feel comfortable saying, like, all right, it's a kind of a change-up count. I'm going to keep my hands back a little bit in case it comes. He'll zip that sucker right by you. I don't think he had a walk again last night. He has been absolutely tremendous. So the Phillies rotation, when you look at it right now, I mean, again, ladies and gentlemen, pinch yourself, because when you're looking at starting pitching staff, and I've been through a lot of bad Phillies teams. I've been through a lot of mediocre Phillies teams, like a lot of people out there. When you look at Zach Wheeler, 2.27 ERA, he's 8-3. Christopher Sanchez, 7-2, 2.68. How about Ranger Suarez? Harry Kalas would have loved to say Ranger Suarez. Here's the pitch, Ranger Suarez. His ERA is an even 2. And he's thrown 72 innings, 7-2. Taijuan Walker's been actually really good when he's been pressed into being the 5th starter. Maybe they need to do that again with him. More on that coming up in a second. And then what's happening with Abel. The hell with the 5th starter. You can do bullpen. You can have young guy come up. You could even do a Joe Ross if you needed to. Taijuan Walker, they're fine with starting pitching for that 5th stand. Andrew Painter, July-ish, we'll see. But when you can roll out a Wheeler, Sanchez, Suarez, Luzardo, you've got a pretty damn good starting rotation. Just weeks ago, we were talking about who would be the odd man out and who would be the 4th starter in this rotation, as we welcome in Tyler Zulli of PHLY Phillies, and he had a recap of the games last night. All right, so you're setting up your playoff rotation right now. Zach Wheeler starts game 1. Who starts game 2?
I still would start Ranger Suarez game 2. I love Chris Sanchez. You were right. We raved about this kid coming into the season. And I think a season ago, if we were in this spot, the thought process might be start Sanchez game 2 if the Phillies are the home team, right? Whatever right. Start marks up with Sanchez being pitching at home, because his splits have been much better at Citizens Bank Park than they are at other places. He's been really good on the road this year. His ERA is just as good. There, a couple weeks ago, his whip was the exact same. Opponent batting averages are a little bit higher. He serves up a little bit more home runs, but per 9 on the road. But he has become an absolute complete pitcher. And the one thing that I keep going back to is, you talked about the changeup. And with the changeup, the thing that really jumps out to me is teams all year, and pretty much for his entire career, but this year it seems really, really that they're investing into it, is they go, all right, lefty on the mound, let's throw the right-handed heavy lineup at him. The changeup is a right-handed hitting neutralizing pitch, and it's his best pitch. He is at his best when he goes up against 7 or 8 right-handed hitters in a lineup. That's how good he is now at this point. I can't say enough good. Like we said, we're expecting a big leap. The leap may have been even bigger than what we expected, because he was an all-star last year, and he's been better this year.
Yes, no, you're right. He has been better. I can't say enough about him. He starts game 3, right?
And if you want to say he starts 2 and Ranger starts 3, okay, I'm cool with it.
Right. But the bottom line is they're your top 3 pitchers, and then Luzardo, who a 4th starter many times gets to start in a series. Think about that rotation. Think about that rotation where you have Luzardo now as kind of your slotted in your 4th starter. Aaron Nola, if he ever comes back this year, potentially he could be your 5th starter. You have Andrew Painter waiting in the wings. More on that coming up in a second. Mick Abel, who has not pitched well, but what a rotation, man.
And let me ask you this. If the Phillies end up having to play in the wild card round, whether they are the 3rd division winner or a wild card team, if they end up having to play in the wild card round and they win the wild card round, I'm not going to sit here and say, like, I don't want Zach Wheeler on the mound in game 1, because of course you do. But if you can say even if they played all 3 games to win the wild card round, you're telling me that the game 1 starter of the NLDS is going to be Jesus Luzardo.
Yeah.
That doesn't scare me. Obviously I'd love it to be Wheeler, but okay, so Luzardo starts game 1 and then you're back to the top and Wheeler starts game 2, probably on regular rest.
Yeah.
By the time that series is over. That's an incredible thing to be able to say, is that Jesus Luzardo, even if you have to play all 3 games in the wild card round, is going to be your game 1 NLDS starter.
Yeah, I was looking at his game logs this morning, and I was like, because he had those really bad starts. We know that. How has he been since then? It's actually been pretty good.
Yeah.
Right. 2 earned runs in 5 innings against the Braves. Beat the Mets, didn't give up a run.
And that was a gutsy 5 too, because he did not have his best stuff in that game.
Yeah, he plowed through it. He had that 10 strikeout game where he was really, really when he's really good, he's a low end number 2, depending on the team, right? So yeah, you get him out there and he's got his good stuff. You wish that you didn't have 3 lefty starters out there. Again, I guess it depends on who you're playing, but yeah, man, it's pinch yourself, Philadelphia Phillies fans. It's not supposed to be this easy with the starting pitching. Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. All right, so Mick Abel. Tyler, yesterday he and you could see it. It didn't feel like he was going to get out of that second inning, and he didn't. Now when you look at what he's done, and he was very efficient. Mick Abel was through his first couple starts, and then you could tell is like, all right, let's get him out after 4 innings. Let's get him, make sure he doesn't go 5. They were really protecting him, which is smart. I like the way that they were handling him. But you look at the last couple outings that he's had here. Now remember, he didn't pitch against Atlanta because it was a rain delay. So he hadn't started since the 21st of June. Maybe that contributed to it, right? Hadn't pitched in 2 weeks. And he hasn't been miserable up until yesterday's start. But, he hasn't been great his last couple times out there, Mick Abel.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it after the Toronto start. We talked about it after the Cubs start. He gave up some hard contact and got away with it. And most of the runs that he was surrendering were solo home runs. It was very Aaron Nola. It was very Cole Hamels-esque early in his career. And it was okay, right? You can survive on those solo home runs, even though he was giving up a lot of hard contact. Yesterday was probably the most frustrating of the Mick Abel outings because it looked like the guy that we had concerns about in AAA last year, the guy whose command was really fighting him. And he didn't have any. I mean, the stuff was okay. The velocity was there. It wasn't like he had a dip in velocity, but he didn't trust himself yesterday. There was an at-bat yesterday that really kind of summed it up for me. And it was bases loaded. It was the second walk that he issued. He had bases loaded. He had already walked a run in, and it was a 2-2 count. And he tried to throw a backdoor breaking ball that missed. And I went, you're throwing back, and I know you're still in technically ahead or at least tied in the count. You're trying to throw a get me over breaking ball with 2 strikes and the bases loaded because you're not trusting your stuff right now. You're not trusting your command. Next pitch, he walks a guy. Then the following at bat, Manny Machado unloads the bases with the double. He didn't trust himself yesterday. He didn't trust his command. That was the Mick Abel, the concern that you saw last year in his time in the minor leagues. That was concerning because the command just wasn't there.
Yeah, you got to throw a fastball there. You can't hope to get lucky because
you just got to attack the zone.
The hitter's not expecting it for good reason. It's a fastball count. You can't go 3-2 there. It's like you had said, especially he was shaky. Because you know what? If he throws a fastball there, who knows what happens, right? He ended up walking in a run.
Yeah.
You have Manny Machado on deck.
Yeah, I mean, they walked in 3 runs yesterday. He walked into Lazar walked a run in, and Lazar has been pretty good, honestly, in the mop-up role. Wasn't a great outing for him in that last inning that he threw. So, half of the runs they gave up yesterday were walked in. You're not going to win a game that way.
And they tried to, and really that was it, right? Outside of that, after Lazar gave up the run, I think that's all the runs that they.
That was the 6th run, yeah, because then the rest of the bullpen was fairly good. And
they fought back. They had a shot there in the 9th inning. Game 2, fun game, good game. Phillies get the win. All right, so remember the July-ish timetable for Andrew Painter. By the way, this portion of the program brought to you by GLAT Hair Restoration, GLATHairMM.com. 610-980-4000. Text or call them, 610-980-4000. It was Andrew Painter July-ish. It's like, well, there's no spot for him in the rotation. You're not going to take Mick Abel out of the rotation. Like, what are you going to do? He's probably not going to make the majors this year. He's just going to stay at AAA. He hasn't been great at AAA. Rob Thompson says, well, he's got to earn his way up to the big leagues. And I always like to say that oftentimes things have a way of working themselves out. And Abel not pitching particularly well the last couple times may be the way for it to have worked out. And you may see Andrew Painter up here. He is in the futures for the All-Star game. I don't think he's pitching again until that futures game. I think they're shutting him down for a little mini break.
I believe he's been shut down through the All-Star break.
Right. So he's going to pitch in the futures game, which is, I guess, next. So not this week, but next week. So he's not going to pitch in a game, which will probably just be an inning if he pitches at all, for another week. So Abel will get another start. Let's say he comes out, and if he gives up 7 runs in 1 1/3, he's not going to make another start, or like they're going to seriously consider demoting him. But if he has a kind of a start, like I'll leave it like this, Tyler. Mick Abel could be out of the rotation after his next start. If he's bad, he could also keep himself in the rotation. But to me, it feels like this is very much all right, where are we going from here? And this is Andrew Painter's path to getting in the big leagues this year.
Yeah, I think it's probably the closest one. I think that they have. I am not to the extreme of what our buddy Pat Egan is, where it's like, bring the kid up, let him throw, just throw innings. And it's funny. I actually talked to Zach Berman, who obviously does incredible Eagles coverage, but is a sicko for MLB prospects. And I don't know if you knew that or not.
Did not.
He is a sicko for MLB prospects, and I mean that in the most endearing, kind way possible. He is of the belief that if you have a young arm with power stuff, don't waste them in the minor leagues, and have them if they're even remotely ready, have them come up, because they're I don't know if it's because an injury is inevitable or whatever it may be, but I'm not that far either. But I think that this is probably the clearest of the paths for Painter to potentially pitch sometime in late July, early August, because the timeline has always been fuzzy. It's always been kind of a July-ish. You use that ish, right? And it's been July-ish, and it's been maybe this year. It's been maybe last year prior to the surgery, right? It's been, or was it 2 years ago? Whatever it was.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
And so it's always been kind of a fuzzy timeline with him. And, I think a lot of people are getting impatient because you're seeing Jacob Mizorowski, you're seeing Chase Burns, you're seeing all of these high power arm prospects that are making their debuts. And I think a lot of Phillies fans are starting to wonder, well, Andrew Painter was in the conversation with all of those guys, and at some point was higher than some of those guys. When does his debut happen? I get it. I understand people are frustrated, but I think they're taking their time on this kid because they have a glut of starting pitching.
Yeah, they can. He was going to be in the rotation 2 years ago. They needed a starter. They don't need a starter this year.
Right.
So here's the best case scenario for the Phillies, Tyler, is that Abel comes out and he pitches well, All-Star break, pitches well again. Then it's approaching, right? The trade deadline.
Right.
I'm sure they would love to get him to the trade deadline pitching well, because really when you look at it and you look at the big picture, and we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. I remember when we had Bob Cooney on, and Bob was saying, I'm not trading him for a reliever at this point. He's not pitching in the future.
Yeah, I just looked it up. Philly Sports Pride is correct. He's now not pitching in the game. So
but he got selected for
selected to the team, but he's not going to pitch.
Okay, so he gets the honor, and I guess he gets the travel to the.
Yeah, so I guess the only Phillies prospect that's going to end up playing in this game is Eduardo Tait in some capacity. He was one of the 3 catchers selected. So yeah, Painter's not going to pitch. I imagine maybe he'll go to the game, but he's not pitching in it.
All right. So Abel pitches well. And really kind of when you take a step back and you get out of the emotion of, hey, he's a former first-round draft pick, and look at his stuff and look how well he's doing. He's figured it out. All right. Would anybody be surprised if he ended up being in between the guy we saw in his first couple starts and the guy that we've seen at AAA previously? No. Right? So, and that's why you strike while the iron's hot and the value is good right now. There's no room for him in this rotation. You're not trading Aaron Nola. No one's taking on that contract, everybody. Everybody now, we can't lose Ranger Suarez. Okay. You can't.
Well, you and I have talked about this plenty with prospects and high draft picks and things like that. My thought process with the baseball draft specifically, because it's such a crapshoot when you're taking high school players, you're taking guys who are swinging with aluminum bats. It's such a crapshoot. If you get an everyday player out of your first round pick, that's a win to me. And I know people want to say, well, I want a Hall of Famer. But up until recently, there was only one number one overall pick who was a Hall of Famer. Chipper Jones was the first number one overall pick to be a Hall of Famer. Now it's obviously Ken Griffey Jr. walked in, no surprise there, and Joe Mauer recently became the third. But you're talking about what was the first draft, 1961 or something like that, where Rick Monday was a number one overall pick. You're talking about 60 plus years of first round picks and 3 number one. And I guess Harold Baines is in now, but he was selected afterwards. 3 number one overall picks were selected to the Hall of Fame in their 10-year window out of 60 some odd years. That's a crapshoot. If you get an everyday player, that's a win to me. The same can be said if you get an everyday a 1 through 5 rotational piece. I think that's a win. If Mick Abel can be a 4, sure, you want him to be a 1 or a 2. But if you get a sturdy 4 out of a number one pick, to me, that's a win. It's not, it's not, you're not getting, like with Painter, our expectations are top of the line rotation guy. With Abel at this point, if he becomes a steady piece in the rotation, that's a win to me.
Yeah, I mean, don't forget also some potential former first overall picks in the Hall of Fame, like Mickey Moniak has got a chance to.
Cornelius Randolph.
Right, but like when
1,000 MLB games away from making it.
The year that Bryce Harper is coming out in the draft, that's a good year to have the first overall pick. The year that it's Nick Senzel or Mickey Moniak and you have the number one pick, now you're picking a guy because you think you can then overpay your second round pick and you can pay him above slot and Mickey Moniak's going to take less money. Yeah, I mean, you look at that draft, there was not a lot of good players in that draft. That was a bad draft that the Phillies had the top overall pick. So, yeah, I mean, Andrew Painter is your young pitcher that you're not trading. Everybody like Aiden Miller. Aiden Miller has been great this year. But to your point, that's why they call them prospects.
So
year to year, it matters.
I'll even take it another step here. You think about the 2018 pick. The Phillies had the third overall pick. I wanted Nick Madrigal that year. I thought he coming out of Oregon State. They ended up taking Alec Boehm. Alec Boehm is one of 2 guys in the first round who have been selected to an All-Star game. The other one is Logan Gilbert. You could make a claim, there's some good players in it. Nico Horner's in this draft, Tristan Casas, Bryce Turang. There's a couple of good players, but you can make a claim that Alec Boehm may be the second best player selected in the first round of that draft. And only because Logan Gilbert, when he's on his best, is a stud. But you got an everyday third baseman. And I know that people don't love Alec Boehm in this city, for various reasons, but
he's a big leaguer. Yeah,
right. That's what I mean is you could have gotten Nick Madrigal, who I don't think has ever been the guy that they were expecting. You could have gotten Jared Kelenic, power bat, who really has never put it all together. You know what I mean? So when it comes to that draft pick, if you get somebody who you can trust and rely upon, that's a win. Anything else is bonus.
Man, they had a run where Phillies picked JD Drew. He obviously didn't sign. Then they had Pat Burrell, Eric Valent, who he's actually a second round pick, but he was their first pick. Brett Myers, excellent pick. Chase Utley,
great pick.
Gavin Floyd, who didn't do it here, but he had a good major league career.
Sure.
Cole Hamels. But then you get Greg Golson, Kyle Drabeck. Remember Joe Savory? Didn't he come back as he was an outfielder / pitcher? He played both in college. I think he came back as or is it, do I have it the other way around, Joe Savory? Travis DeArnott, he was a second round pick. Anthony Hewitt. These are the Pat Gillick drafts where they went high ceiling and they didn't do anything. Zach Collier, Jesse Biddle. Remember Jesse Biddle? He's from Germantown Friends. Larry Green. I can't believe they actually drafted Larry Green. And then they've had some good picks since then. But yeah, I mean, it's like you said, it's a crapshoot. It's a crapshoot. All right, we'll come back. We'll come back. We got some fireworks talks. And what is the ultimate 4th of July party for you? and party plate for you. More Phillies as well. A lot ahead. It's Philly with John Marks. PHLY. Don't go anywhere. Back at 2 and 2. All right, let's talk about getting back to doing what you love. It's the summertime. I said this earlier in the week. I saw Andrew Frazier rode his bike from like the city to like New Hope or something, Bucks County. It's like 60 miles. You kidding me? You can't do that. You get off your bike and you're like, oh my God, you can't walk for a week. All right, normal soreness is understandable when you get a little bit older or whatever. But man, if you can't get out of bed or you're like, well, I can't ever do that again. Well, you can't look at it like that. Rothman Orthopedics, everybody. Rothman Orthopedics. So whether it's biking or running or just being out and doing stuff, if you're really in pain and you're living on ibuprofen or whatever else you got going on, if it's flaring up, you don't have to live like that. Rothman Orthopedics. RothmanOrtho.com/PHLY. You can book your appointment. Go to one of their 30-plus convenient offices, urgent cares, and walk-in centers, including 3 that are in Philly right now. Center City, Northeast Philly, and now the Navy Yard in South Philly. So there is a Rothman near you. I went to the one in Limerick. I did PT, the one in Limerick. Very convenient. I've been to their urgent cares. You're going to find the full spectrum of orthopedic care. Rothman Orthopedic. Go to RothmanOrtho.com/PHLY. RothmanOrtho.com/PHLY. All right, let's talk about BetParx. Come on now, let's go. We've been hot. We've been hot. Philly with John Marks been red hot on the parlay of the day. All right, we had it last night. So the baseball team's off tonight, and then you get a weekend holiday series against Cincinnati. And guess what? Cincinnati's been pretty good this year. Pretty good. Terry Francona comes in, and he always knows what he's doing. But I think this is one of these weekends where the bats get hot, and at least 2 or 3 on this one, right? So you can bet on everything. Sure, the team wins, but what about homers, RBIs, total bases, pitching performance, strikeouts, all that stuff? Game props on the BetParx app are amazing. Live betting's better on the BetParx app. So there's always another way to win, including it's the BetParx Sportsbook. It's also the online casino app. How about that? Brand new casino games like Huff and More Puff, Fireblaze Sky Queen. That's a BetParx exclusive. And live dealer blackjack, roulette, craps, poker, baccarat, and hot online slots like Cash Eruption, 88 Fortunes, and Cleopatra. Check it out. Up to $1,000 casino bonus back if you're a new user and you lose in the first 24 hours. Go to betparx.com, download the app right now. Enjoy all the action and excitement from the casino at your fingertips. You must be 21. And then PA, New Jersey, Maryland, or Michigan for BetParx. You love to play. You play to win. You bet BetParx. Gambling problem. Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Hooah! All right. We're back. Philly, July 3rd. Getaway day for me. I am down the Jersey Shore. Give me a wave if you see me on the Ocean City Boardwalk, as they have shut down, or Wonderland has closed. So now there's only one amusement park on the boardwalk, which is very disappointing because it was always smaller, like the setup smaller and crammed, and now you're having to make everybody go to the one amusement park. So I'm not happy about that. The other thing is, if people out there went to Wonderland, which is the one I always preferred, and we always kind of stayed on that side at the end of Ocean City anyway, they would always promote, and they would actually, in the off season, they would have this day where you can buy the cards that have the rides and the tickets loaded on the cards. They would have some discount where you get deep discounts if you purchase it on that day, because they would always say, well, they never expire. So last year, and I pretty much do this every year because I have this drawer in my kitchen. Oh, the dreaded kitchen drawer where there's everything in it. But I have in the back, in this one holder, I have gift cards for everything. And that's where the Wonderland gift card would go, because rather than being like, all right, well, let me spend another $20 so we can do a couple more rides and leave. No. I spend $100 because I need to get the bonus. I need to get the most possible credits because it's the best value, because I keep it and then I bring it the next year. Well, guess what I can't bring this year? The freaking card that probably has $80 on it because they closed. How low is that, Tyler? Zulian, like, listen, I know that it's a tough business to run an amusement park in 2025 with aging rides, and like developers are ready to take that land and turn it into hotels or whatever, and you can make a lot of money and get out of the business. But still, man, every year I always be like, oh, they never expire. I'm going to buy a new one. It expired.
So. Yeah, of course they did, because it was, obviously, you've got varying levels of ages for your kids. So they want a million different rides, right? I imagine your older kids are probably getting into the more advanced rides, right? Like the more thrill rides and stuff like that.
Seeker, yep.
You still got to do some of the smaller rides for your youngest. And so you got to buy the biggest ticket package, because I don't know how much they were like per ticket, but like, so we usually go to the Wildwood Boardwalk, and Wildwood is like, it's like $10 to ride the roller coaster, the big one. And I'm like, that's absurd. That's insanity to me. So I imagine you probably had to buy for 5 of you, right? You, your wife, your 3 kids, like you had to probably buy a million tickets. So like you said, you're out a pretty big chunk of change, which really sucks.
Yeah, we go down with my sister-in-law, her husband. They have 3 like little kids.
So you have a huge party that goes.
And then my brother-in-law comes in from Vegas with his son, and he's Christian's my oldest daughter's age. So yeah, they want to go on rides. And you said it, like they don't have I don't know, does Wildwood have a big like loop roller coaster?
It does, yeah.
Yeah, like I don't think Ocean City has like that size roller coaster. Mm. But if you want to ride the pirate ship, which my daughter loves, that's $5 each. For the most part, anybody that goes on is pretty much $5. So a lot of times what we do is we each, like, I'll buy the first card, they buy the second card, they buy the third card. I spent $200 at the amusement park. Over the course of a week, $200.
You're almost to the point where you're like, man, I could go to like a legit theme park for this price.
I go to Dorney Park and Great Adventure and have money left over.
Do a Dorney Park. Like, it's crazy how expensive the individual ride selections are. I get why you did the big package to save, because you're going to end up saving money. But if you don't use them all in the one day, it's like, oh yeah, they never expire. Well, they expire once your business goes out of business.
Yep, I got screwed. My favorite underrated ride is the bumper cars, because you don't see them as much anymore, because a lot of times they're busted. But last year I T-boned this 8-year-old, had to be 8 years old, and I picked up some speed too, and I T-boned him, boom, and he loved it. But I love smashing the little kids on the bumper cars. It's awesome. I love it. Love it.
We used to do we were a little bit older. We were probably like 13, 14. We used to love the go-karts underneath the pier. Because it made you feel like because we weren't able to drive yet.
You go fast in those things.
Yeah,
too,
you were
man.
flying. But there used to be a guy who worked there probably 3 straight summers, and he was a miserable SOB. Hated his job. And quite frankly, I don't blame him, because he's under the boardwalk dealing with idiots like us, breathing in gasoline smoke for 8 hours a day. It probably gets to you after a while. But he used to scream into the microphone, "Stop running into each other." And we were like, no, this is Demolition Derby. Like, we're not, I'm not here to race. If I could turn my cart around and drive the other way, I would do it.
Yeah. Well, it's should be fun. I'm sure there's a lot of people going on vacation this week and next week or whatever. Sure. Also, it's a holiday, 4th of July. So if you have animals or young children, Tyler, you have animals and now you have young children.
I have both.
Right. So the fireworks is a real issue depending on your children and dogs and whatever else. Now, thankfully, I don't know if it's because I've complained about it publicly many times, but there's a couple fireworks guys in my neighborhood. And here's what that means. That July 1st, July 2nd, July 3rd, July 4th, July 5th, July 6th. It's like, all right, are you finished with the fireworks yet? Like tonight, July 3rd, perfectly fine to do some fireworks. Absolutely fine. Tomorrow, if you want to do fireworks at 11 o'clock at night, I'm not going to complain.
Sure.
All right. Like, kids are already probably be asleep. You might wake them up. You could do fireworks tomorrow. July 5th. Hey, it's a Saturday. All right. You want to do some fireworks? Sunday, July 6th, no more fireworks.
Come on.
We're done. And there's been a fireworks guy in my neighborhood, and I know who he is. He's right up the street. He knows I know who he is. Like and you just see him coming up from his backyard. All right. Like I'm good with fireworks, but there's been no fireworks in my neighborhood thus far, which makes me happy.
Yeah, it's, especially if you live in a complex, like whether it's a housing development or an apartment complex, like our apartment complex is fairly large, but it's pretty compact. So, you're kind of on top of each other. So anytime somebody sets off fireworks, it could be we're split. So it's half of the people are here and then it's the road and then half of the other buildings are on the other side. Even if you're setting them off on the other side, they feel like they're right on top of you. So I get it. Like you said, I'm not trying to be old man yells at clouds. It's a holiday. People do this. It's a summer tradition. And I think a 3-day window is more than enough.
More than enough.
After you get to Sunday or the Tuesday afterwards, you're like, dude, come on. What are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah. I'll allow 3 days. I would say that's more than fair. Not getting mad. I don't call the police or anything like that, but still, like I'll
Sure.
I'm ready to go look for you. You don't stop doing it and it's so late. Are you doing anything for the 4th of July? I know you still got a really little one.
Yeah, honestly, we'll probably we'll probably be out and about, but I think we're gonna stay local. It's like you said, we've got an 8-month-old and a dog who is petrified of fireworks. So it's not a great combination for us this year. So we'll see how it goes. We'll be out and about locally, but we're not doing the shore or anything like that this year.
Yeah, growing up, my parents had German Shepherds, and I was probably like 7 years old. And this particular was the last one they had. If there was thunderstorms, she would literally jump out of the window of the house, and not just the first story of the house, like second story windows. And so anytime, especially in the summertime, you saw how there's been storms this week. There's been thunderstorms this week.
Yeah.
So my mom would have to take the dog to my grandmother's house. Otherwise, she jumps out of freaking windows. So same thing with fireworks. So if there's fireworks, literally this thing could be flying through a window. Sure. That's how nutty they got. I never had to worry about that, but still, like that's how crazy dogs.
That's way worse than my dog. My dog just burrows herself under the bed. Yeah, because we have kind of a lifted bed, so she can pretty easily scamper under there, and she just sits under there. And you lift the cover up, and she's just like staring at you with these like 1,000-yard
help
PTSD stare.
Help. All right, what is your ultimate 4th of July? Because for me, each holiday is a little bit different. Sure. What's the ultimate 4th of July plate for you look like?
Okay, so I'm pretty simplistic when it comes to 4th of July. I like a good burger. I like some corn on the cob. I like some sides. I don't go crazy with my food on 4th of July. The one thing I will say, if you give me some fresh fruit on a 4th of July plate, 100% in. Give me a big watermelon rind. I love watermelon. I'm a huge watermelon fan. Give me a big piece of watermelon. And I'm pretty simple with the rest. Give me a burger. Give me some sides. Give me some corn on the cob. It's pretty simplistic for me for 4th of July.
Yeah, that's a bust out comment with the fruit, because Memorial Day is not really, it's not hot. Like the watermelon's not in season yet. The corn's not in season yet. Yeah, like you're not getting the summer fruit. You're right. 4th of July. So here's how I am, right? Memorial Day, I'm a burger, hot dog. I don't need anything else. Like that's my start of summer. Give me the burger, hot dog. By the time 4th of July comes around, all right, I need a little bit more. Corn on the cob, potato salad, ribs, chicken. And it's really the only time I like that stuff. But like by 4th of July, I want a little bit more of a complex barbecue. Maybe like you said, the side, some baked beans thrown in on there, some coleslaw thrown. Oh, man. Oh, I love 4th of July.
So out on coleslaw. I hate coleslaw.
Do you like potato salad?
I do.
Okay. Mayo?
I don't like mayo, but I like potato salad.
Yeah, I guess coleslaw is it's much different than, because I mean, there's coleslaw. I mean, it's not really all that mayo-y. It's a lot of vinegar and sugar and things like that. I love good coleslaw. I hate bad coleslaw.
I think that's probably a fair assessment. If you get bad coleslaw, it's
bad.
Really, really bad.
Potato salad, for the most part, a beet potato salad is pretty easy to find. Sure. But like my mom makes a potato salad, Oh man, it is so good. And it goes well with the chicken, with the barbecue chicken, because
Right.
it has red onion in it and it has celery, and the celery's kind of thick. It's not like super duper. And oh man, I'm hungry. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go.
You get
BetParx,
20 minutes
BetParx,
you can eat.
yeah, man. Yeah, I ate pretty good this morning already. All right, coming up, BetParx Parlay of the day. If you haven't been following at home, Tyler Zulli, and he just doesn't want to do it because he knows that the minute he starts charging for his bets that he will start to be terrible. He'd rather not make money and be good on the air. Another hit last night. We actually won our parlay as I correctly predicted Phillies would split the series, would win the nightcap. What do we have in store for today? Find out. Philly with John Marks, PHLY. All right. Is your hairline slipping? Right? You got your new license picture and you're like, let me take a look at my license picture. Like, whoa, what happened to my hair? Look at the hairline. Veep, goes back. It happens to us, right? It happens, guys. That's okay. And if you're comfortable with it and you start losing your hair even more and more, a lot of guys like to shave their head. And they're great with that. I'm great with that too. But what if you want to keep your hair? All right. What if you want to stop the thinning process? What if you want to say, hey, I can see hair regrowing. GLAT Hair Restoration by Morgan Stern Medical. GLATHairMM.com. GLAT hairmm.com. Text or call them at 610-980-4000. The experts in the industry when it comes to hair. Over 30 years of experience. Their hair team, best in the business. I've been dealing with Lisa and Cheryl and their entire crew over there for going on 15 years. So, how do you stay in business? How do you do hair for that long? Is it luck? No, you're in business that long if you're excellent at what you do. And there's nobody better than GLAT Hair Restoration. They help me. They can help you. Not just about hair restoration, which I had. You can see my hairline. It's excellent. But especially in 2025, innovation. There's a lot of things out there right now that can help you with your hair loss. Stop it before you need to maybe get a hair restoration procedure. If you're a little bit younger and you're like, well, I don't know if I need hair restoration, but I'd love for my hair to stop thinning. I'd love to stop balding. Again, give them a call. Text them at 610-980-4000, 610-980-4000, or GLATHairMM.com. Hoo-ah. All right. Ace Hardware Home Services. All right, it's the summertime, guys, ladies. You have that project and you're like, all right, well, now you're hitting the July 4th weekend. Maybe it's not like the halfway through summer, but this is kind of like, all right, you turn the page. Now it's like you have the rest of July. And then very quickly, the kids get back to school in August, right? Take care of it right now with Ace Hardware Home Services. So if you did have a project that you were looking at, Ace Hardware Home Services, maybe you're looking for seasonal maintenance, your HVAC. It's hot outside. It's not getting cool enough in your house. AceHardwareHomeServices.com. Anything that you need, equipment installation, repair, toilet isn't flushing, something's leaking. Ace Hardware Home Services, they have somebody for that. They're bringing helpful home, and they're doing it right now all the way from Philly to the Jersey Shore. Visit Ace Hardware Home Services at AceHardwareHomeServices.com to get started on your next project. AceHardwareHomeServices.com. Hoo-ah. All right, we're back. Philly with John Marks. City workers are still on strike. The trash is piling up. They have dumpsters that are in different spots of the city, but those dumpsters are overflowing with trash. And then people are literally waiting for the dumpster to get picked up so that then they can throw their trash in there. You pay your taxes. One of the things, whether you pay taxes or you pay rent or whatever, one of the things you should be able to do is dispose of your trash at least once a week. And I can't imagine what it's like if it's on your block or the smell of the garbage. I mean, it's July, it's hot. Oh my God. Absolute disgrace. And I don't know how much the mayor should be blamed or the union should be blamed or whatever, but come on. Let's get this solved, please. So we're not trash piling up. It already looks bad enough. Absolutely horrible. So that, that's bad. That's bad. So get that fixed. One other thing. We'll get to the BetParx Parlay today in a second. Tyler, you live in an apartment, so I think it's a little bit different for you. But what do you keep your thermostat set on? Like right now, when you go to bed, what is your thermostat set on?
So you're right. It is a little bit easier for us because our square footage is much smaller. So we have the ability to set it lower because A, it doesn't cost a whole lot because our electric bill is fairly in check, and B, it's able to keep up. So we right now have it somewhere between like 69 and 71 in our apartment.
Do you have a thermostat or do you have like a big wall unit?
We have a thermostat. Yeah,
Okay.
It's central air here.
Central air. So like a big problem with a lot of people, if they don't have two separate units or like the second floor of the house doesn't get cool. So your thermostat's downstairs, your thermostat's set to 70 degrees, but upstairs it may be 78 degrees or 80 degrees.
Sure.
And it's not going to help. And this is where I try to explain to my wife that, all right, it's hot upstairs, but setting the thermostat downstairs isn't to 68 degrees or 67 degrees, isn't necessarily really going to get it that much cooler upstairs. It's just going to get colder downstairs.
Right.
It's going to be hot upstairs. You need to have fans. You need to have other things. So this is what happens every time that like I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I'll be frozen because the thermostat's so low and it's like, and now it's cold. Right. And you come downstairs in the morning and I'm having to turn the air off because it's 67 degrees downstairs, which I don't need to be running the thermostat in the middle of the night while everybody's sleeping to where it's frozen downstairs when we wake up.
So I used to run into this problem when I was living at my mom's house. So my room in my mom's house was in a really weird spot where it faced the sun for a majority of the day. And so in the summer, it was 10 degrees hotter than everything else. But you would think in the winter, it would also help you out. But no, in the winter, there was no insulation in the room. In the winter, it was 10 degrees colder than everywhere else. So I had no wind. The only good times to sleep in my bedroom at my mom's were like April and November. So I found myself a lot, especially as I got older, spending a lot of time in the basement because the basement was, you know, dark and damp and it was cooler.
Yeah, my basement's cold. I'm wearing a hoodie today. My studio's in the basement. Yeah, my basement's cold. So yeah, but anyway, and it's the constant, it's the thermostat. Because I honestly, my wife was away for the weekend last weekend. I put the air up to 74. I'm quite comfortable.
You're the one that likes it warmer.
I just don't care. I'm not bothered by it.
Sure.
If it gets hot, I turn it down. If I feel like it's too warm, I'll turn it down. I don't care about that. But I don't. You know, if it's 100 degrees out, guess what? You're not getting your house down to 70 degrees as it is.
No.
So it's going to be 74 or 75 degrees. It's just too damn hot outside.
I've always heard you can kind of get it to about 15 degrees, maybe 20, but like 15 degrees cooler inside than it is outside. If you get more than that, you have a really, really good AC unit.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, you're right. You're not going to, just because you wanted to get it to a desired temperature doesn't mean you're going to.
Right.
Well, anyway. All right. Let's get to our BetParx Parlay of the day. All right, Zuli, what did you hit last night?
I took Yandy Diaz over a half of an RBI last night in the A's-Rays game. He ended up with 2. That ended up being because he struck out his first at bat. I'm like, oh boy, here we go. He ended up with 2 RBIs later in the game, so we were good there.
Is this a Malik Beasley thing where you have pictures or something?
I have inside information.
These random players. Yeah, do you have? Are they point shaving for you?
Yeah, I
something going on.
I have inside information. It's why I'm still on the PHLY roster. Yes, honestly, but you're right. I can't explain because I said to my wife today, the minute I start betting these, I'm going to start losing.
Oh, 1,000%.
I haven't placed a bet in probably 2 years. Like actually, and I always tell people that too, when I give betting, like numbers and advice and stuff, I go, hey, I don't bet. This is just me looking at numbers and looking at trends and taking an educated guess. Cause that's really what betting is. But the moment I start placing actual monetary investment into this, down the toilet.
Oh yeah. No, cause you'll look at it differently.
Right.
You will overthink it. You will bet more than you should. It's always what happened to me too. And cause didn't we both have we both did very well in the NFL picks this year, right?
Yeah, our NFL picks were really good this year.
Yeah, and now now you got. I'm just saying, you could sell these picks as long as you don't bet it. You could sell them. All right, no Phillies tonight. What were you looking at?
Yeah, so I'm going to go to the Tigers-Nationals game today. They played a doubleheader yesterday, and the Nationals bullpen was pretty taxed because Trevor Williams was very, very bad. Gave up, I think the number ended up being 54 pitches in the first inning for Trevor Williams, which is like the most in a decade for a guy who completed the first inning. So the Nationals bullpen got taxed, and the Tigers are starting a guy who I have never heard of before. John, you and I watch a lot of baseball and a lot of out-of-town baseball too. I have never heard of Dietrich Enns in my life. He is 3-0 in his career. It's his second start this season. He hadn't pitched in almost 1,200 days in the big leagues before his last start. I think this is ripe for a high-scoring game. The over-under is high. It's 9.5. And in fact, I almost considered playing it down to 8.5. You can get 9.5 at plus 100. You can get 8.5 at minus 157. And in fact, I think I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to buy it down to an 8.5 line. So I'm going to take the over in the Tigers Nationals game at minus 157.
All right. There you go. I'm going to take the New York Liberty minus 10 over the LA Sparks. I don't know why, because it looks good. That line's telling me something. It's
a really good Liberty team.
Man, I'm telling you, one of the best that I can remember. It's been a while. They did win a championship not long ago. Because I remember when someone complained the Knicks or nobody in New York has won a championship since some year. There was like, well, the Liberty won. You guys don't know what you're talking about. But anyway, yeah, I'm going to take the Liberty minus 10. There you go. Okay. That's the BetParx parlay of the day. So tomorrow we will have some content on July 4th coming live at 8 a.m. We'll do some over-unders on NFL. But since we're doing that tomorrow, I was looking at the odds, right? Because I think right now, because if you're a bettor, you get a little bit light on there's baseball. So there's the NBA playoffs is over, NHL playoffs is over. So it's like, all right, if you're looking for action, yeah, like, okay, what do you got? The Eagles are 7-point favorites in that opener against Dallas, which is like, it's been pretty steady. And it's really not surprising considering when you look at kind of what Vegas is thinking about the Cowboys this season. But to win the Super Bowl right now, and it is so difficult to go back-to-back, Eagles are the favorites, plus 650. Ravens, Bills, Chiefs are plus 750. The Dallas Cowboys, to win the Super Bowl, are plus $5,000.
That's a beautiful thing to hear.
That's unbelievable. I mean, they're grouped in the same, the Steelers, who nobody really believes can win a Super Bowl, but at least they think can be a playoff team. The Cardinals and the Falcons are really in the same category as the Cowboys when you look at the futures for the NFL. So it's interesting.
It's funny with the Cowboys too. Like even on the years that maybe we didn't think they were the best team, but they were a good team, I always felt that the Cowboys had a high floor because a good defense, or good enough defense, I should say.
Yeah, they always had a ton of talent. Yeah.
High top tier talent, I should probably say, is more like it. And Dak is a good enough quarterback to not lose 10, 11 games on a consistent basis if he plays. What this is telling me for the first time is Vegas thinks they're out on Dallas. They're out on Schottenheimer. They're out on Prescott. They're out on this team. This is kind of surprising.
And honestly, I would take the over on all of these things. Because the minute that people are out on you is when you're going to surprise everybody. But like you had said, I would always be like, yeah, they'll win 11 games and they'll lose in the first round of the playoffs. You never took them seriously as a Super Bowl contender, which I still don't.
What wild card team are they going to lose to if they win the NFC East?
Eagles to win the conference, plus 300. Lions, plus 425. So that's their formidable competition as far as the odds. And then you slide down to the Niners, plus 800. The Commanders and the Rams, plus 900. And then, like, the NFC is not as strong as the AFC, but you have the usual suspects: Tampa, Minnesota, Green Bay, Washington, really all the teams that were in it last year. I don't buy the Bears being a playoff team this year. And honestly, unless Carolina, like as far as the surprise this year, who's the surprise playoff team? Is Carolina take that jump? Right? Does
they take a jump? I'm not sure if it's that jump, but I think they take a jump.
So there's who else other than the Cowboys or the Bears could make you had mentioned the Cardinals before.
Yeah, the Cardinals are intriguing. So it's funny too, you bring up those numbers. What that tells me is the Eagles are pretty heavy favorites to go back to the Super Bowl.
Yep.
And I know like Detroit's there, they're in the 400s, but then it's a substantial gap between Detroit and everybody else. Like that tells me Vegas thinks this Eagles team is very primed, assuming health, of course, very primed to go back to the Super Bowl next year.
Yeah, I'm not gonna jinx it and talk it into existence.
Sure, it's July.
but the the award tour that Saquon Barkley is going on, and he is everywhere and anywhere, and he's also yapping. He talked about how it's BTA, boots to ass, anytime he plays the Cowboys or the Commanders because they didn't call him when he was a free agent. And like it was an innocent enough answer. He was asked a question, and he just answered it. Here's all I'm saying. Dude, last year was an incredible all-time year.
Sure.
You stayed healthy. You played every game that you needed to. You were able to sit out a game, which cost you the record. But like you had an unbelievable year. It's a storybook. It really is. Let's get ready for the season now. All right, enough talking. You do your appearances, did your thing with Shady, the golf tournament, whatever you're doing with Shady. That's all good. I'm just concerned about this year. It is so difficult to go and do what he did last year, especially when you consider his track record. This isn't a guy that's like, well, no, he's almost always healthy. Derrick Henry, if I look at Derrick Henry, it's like, all right, Derrick Henry going for 2,000 yards, what's he going to look like the next season? And Saquon Barkley going for 2,000 yards, what's he going to look about the next season? You worry about the wear and tear on Saquon Barkley based on his injury history. So I'm just saying, like, I'm just kind of taking like a deep breath and exhaling and hoping that he's going to be all right this year.
I'm not necessarily worried about like them taking their victory lap for too long. I do think they'll lock back in. Their quarterback is their driving force to that. A.J. Brown is a driving force to that. Lane Johnson is a driving force to that. They've got veterans and at skill position players and veterans in the locker room whose whose voices carry and have weight. So I'm not necessarily worried about that. I guess if you're going to say what's a worry, the schedule is a difficult schedule this year. There's no question about it. They play a very difficult schedule this year. So if you said to me the Eagles are not what did they win last year? 14 games? Or 13 games?
I think it was 14, right?
14. So if you said to me the Eagles aren't going to win 14 games this year, I would go, yeah, that's probably accurate. I think they take a win total slip back. But I think if you telling me like a win total slip back goes from 14 to 12, that's probably where I would have them sit, somewhere in that 12 range, which still to me is probably good enough to A, win the division, and B, be a pretty high seed, and C, not give me any kind of concerns over the team that they're going to be. I think that they've got enough smart veteran minds in that locker room to break the hangover issue, the Super Bowl hangover issue. I think if you're going to have any questions, it probably revolves more around who they play and when they play them versus the internal stuff.
Yeah. If you're watching on TV, slide on over to allphly.com. We're officially in overtime. It's just, I'll just leave it like this because ultimately we're going to find out how they do. But think about where Saquon Barkley was last year. He felt disrespected by the Giants. He couldn't wait to sign with the Eagles. It was a thing of beauty. He was so pissed and he was so happy to rub it in the Giants that he signed with the Eagles and goes into training camp, has an unbelievable year. Like the amount that you have to prove and kind of like what's on your shoulders, which is just like, man, like I'm going to shove it up their butt. You have so much to play for. You're training harder. You're like, man, I'm going to win and I'm going to show the Giants and I'm going to put up a career year. And not that Saquon's not training this year. The guy's in unbelievable shape. All I'm saying is when you reach the top of that mountain and now you're a champion, you don't realize what you're doing but it's so easy to think that you're going to be able to do it again. And it's so difficult. Now, the second time around with the Eagles winning a Super Bowl, the front office is much more and much better prepared for it, because instead of giving GJ more money, they got rid of him because they said, hey, this is a potential chemistry issue with the team. He already rubs a lot of guys the wrong way. So they got rid of him. So Howie Roseman, I think, has done a really good job in keeping it fresh and getting rid of some guys that maybe he thought were going to be a problem.
Yeah, and one of the things that you and I talked about with Saquon Barkley specifically, like numerically speaking, there is a pretty high likelihood that a regression season happens because 2,000 yards is unbelievably hard to duplicate. But if that regression season is 75% and it's 1,500 yards, that's still going to end up being a hell of a year.
Yeah, they're just going to throw the ball more and maybe they're going to throw it. I think everybody would be surprised if he ran for 2,000 yards again. But I think you're going to see a little bit of a drop off, and you're probably going to see the Eagles running the offense a little bit differently and not using him as much as a running back with the amount of carries that he's had. Honestly, it'd be nice to see him used a little bit more in the passing game this year.
Well, and I'll be intrigued to see how they use the backup running back position, because last year it was Kenny Gainwell's spot. We knew Kenny Gainwell was the clear-cut number 2. Is Will Shipley the number 2? Nominally, is A.J. Dillon the number 2? Dillon hasn't put together a full workload in quite some time. Is Will Shipley ready to take on that second workload? So if I'm thinking about how to balance Saquon, it's not even necessarily about Saquon. It's about when he's off the field, because he's very candid and honest about, hey, I'm checking out. I need a breather.
Right.
Is it going to be Will Shipley? Is he ready to take that role? Or is it going to be A.J. Dillon? Is it are they just going to be piecemealing this thing together? If you're talking about his time off the field, that to me, in terms of keeping him in check, that to me is actually maybe the question of who's the number 2.
Yeah. All right, everybody, have a safe 4th of July. Tyler, enjoy it, brother.
You too. Have a great weekend. Enjoy your vacation.
I appreciate it. Are you filling in with various people next week?
Yeah, so I believe the schedule is going to look something along the lines of Monday will be Jamie with me in my normal role. Tuesday, I will be you. And then Wednesday will once again be Jamie. And then I believe Thursday and Friday will be Bill. So we will have a couple different hosts, but we'll hang out with a bunch of different people.
That's going to be good. We have some good talent here on PHLY. Everybody.
I think on Tuesday I'll have BG come along with us.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's a good idea. Laurel and Hardy, the modern day Laurel and Hardy.
He and I just might scream at each other. Well, let me rephrase that. He might just scream at me the entire time.
Yes. You definitely frustrate him. I love it. It's great. All right, everybody, have a great holiday. Be careful. Remember, there's Uber for a reason. Don't drink and drive. Have a great holiday. We'll talk to you soon. And I don't know, Bill Metz, I think, is in for Anthony today. Slide on over and check them out there live right now. We'll talk to you. See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.